We are taking it right over to Michele Schneider of the Market Gauge Group. Always wonderful to have you on our show, Michele. What do you think about the money flow in the market this week?
Well, what's so interesting is if you look and compare the number of stocks in the S&P 500 versus the S&P 500 index itself, you see a tremendous divergence in that there's only been a very few stocks that have been dragging that S&P 500 up, where the breadth on most of them is actually really weak. And so if you look at it on a chart, it actually almost looks like an alligator mouth. I'm going to show you here kind of with my hands. And so this is the few stocks that are still elevated, keeping that S&P 500 up, and the breadth right here. So if we look at it like an alligator and the jaws start to shut, what we could actually see is some of those weaker stocks and maybe even some of the value plays. I don't know if I want to necessarily say a huge rally, but definitely have some support here and start to go up, while some of the big leaders start to come down a little bit. And that would be, I think, not the worst thing for the market. And especially if we start to see some value and looking at like VTV, which is the value ETF, playing a little bit of catch up here. Because what we always want to see is we want to see growth projections from the economy. And at this point, growth has slowed, inflation keeps rocketing up. And so we're in this tenuous situation where we're actually sort of rolling a little bit out of equities, except for a few here and there, being patient. And we have much more position in the commodities. So we still think that that's really the play for the next 6 months to 2-3 years out.
What would be your trade of the day?
Well, I'm assuming that most of the audience likes to hear about equities. So I'm going to give you a surprising one, and that's Beyond Meat. The price of cattle through drought and supply chain disruption, the cattle, it's a shortage, so I should say not the price of cattle, but the price of meat is skyrocketed. Anybody who's gone to a restaurant lately knows that you can easily plunk down $40 to $60 for a piece of steak. And as a result, I think not only from that aspect, but also from the environmental aspect, more and more people are starting to talk about the Impossible Burger and the Beyond Burgers and doing some alternative meats. And Beyond itself just went to a 60-plus day new low, which gives you a really good risk. But I would wait for it to clear 115 before I would get in, and you could risk about $5.
We have no beef with you picking a trade in the commodities. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Angie.
Go to businessfirstam.com for where to see our show on TV.